Welcome to the Human Design Profiles and Entrepreneurship Podcast. I'm your host, Chantel, a 1-3 manifesting generator, small business strategist, and author of the Aligned Action series of books for solo entrepreneurs. Thanks for joining us today on the show, which is an active learning experiment about how we experience entrepreneurship as individuals through our human design. Each episode profiles a human design enthusiast / business owner who's here to share about how their personal profile lines have influenced them on their business journey, how they use what they know about their profile as entrepreneurs, and what this looks like for them personally in the implementation phase with the decisions they make on a daily basis. Today, I'm connecting with Michelle, who, after years in the corporate sector, ventured into the entrepreneurial world in 2021, combining her background in customer service and management with her sharp entrepreneurial spirit. As the founder of MicNic Remote, her real estate virtual assistant business, and the co-founder of The Key You're Missing, a real estate marketing platform tailored for Canadian Realtors, Michelle is proud to be efficient and provide client-focused service. Her commitment ensures that her clients receive the specialized support they need to excel. Michelle's journey from corporate professional to an innovative entrepreneur illustrates her dedication to transforming the real estate sector by providing targeted, effective solutions that enhance productivity and success for professionals across Canada. Have a listen while today's guest, Michelle, a 3-5, shares her story while you read between the lines. So Michelle, the 3-5 is all about finding better ways to do things. Does that resonate with you, and how do you feel about that part of the profile?
100%. Instantly, I remember back when I was like 16, 17, I worked with a pharmacist and he told me that he liked putting me on projects because I will find a project and I will always find the most efficient way to get it done.
Wow.
So that immediately I was just like, yep. And my biggest pet peeve I find in life is just inefficiency in general. I feel like I've been talking about that with my friends a lot lately. So yes, it resonates with me very much.
Tell me about one of the inefficiencies that you've noticed recently, and what did you do to fix it?
Well, just like a big thing for me is just driving inefficiency in general, which has
Mhm.
nothing to do with work, but that's a big one for me. I'm just like, let's just go. I also just efficiency in general. Like I just, when it comes to my work and stuff like that, I hate doing tasks twice. I will always do things in batches. I will always try to do things so that they make sense and that I don't have to go back. So I
Mhm.
don't have anything specific, but I feel like it's just how I'm wired. I'm just always looking for a way to do it faster, easier, better.
That sounds like a 3-5.
Yeah.
Which part of your profile would you say that you identify with more, the 3-line or the 5-line?
Oh man, I feel like I resonate with them both pretty good, but I would say more the 3 line. I feel like that one just pops up more and is very like more prominent in how I function. I
Mhm.
would say, yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it is the first of your 2 lines, so it is the conscious one. I have the 3-line too, and I would say that, yeah, the 3-line, there's something about it that like makes itself more prominent.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty obvious.
She's always yelling.
Correct.
Yeah.
Making mistakes and moving on quickly is like such a huge part of that 3-line. Does this feel like something that's true for you?
Yeah, I feel like my friends and the people in my outer world very much show me that more so. My one friend, Jordan, she has told me multiple times that the one thing that she admires about me the most is that when something doesn't serve me, I just move on or I
Mm,
find something better or I just like I don't waste any more time on it. If it doesn't
right.
work, I'll find a new solution kind of thing. So I feel like I was never really good at recognizing that in myself until she finally said it to me. But yeah,
Mhm.
I can't waste my time on things that don't serve me.
Yeah. I think that's probably the part of the 3-line that people respect and admire the most. I agree. I've
Hmm.
had experiences like that where people are like, you're really resilient. Like, you didn't let that get you down. I'm like, well, you just got to move on. Like,
Yeah,
we don't know any other way, right? That's so natural for us.
exactly. And I think too, with that as well, like I hate change. Like I don't like change. I mean, who does like change? But
Mhm.
I do find that when I go through big periods of change, it's like it's not just one thing changing in my life. It's like I do a whole overhaul and
Mhm.
everything changes at the same time.
Yeah.
And and like somehow I handle it with grace most of
Right.
the time. And I just like, water off the back kind of thing. Like you just kind of take it as it goes. And yeah, I don't know, it doesn't really phase me as much. I hate the initial start, but once I'm in it,
Mm.
it's fine. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that feels very true for me as well. I'm a huge overhauler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've talked about that with the three line yet on the show, but that is, I think, a shared element of that. Now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Um,
Yeah. Like I think back to the very first time that I did this like in a massive, massive way. I was 18 and in a span of one day, I started a new job. I was living by myself and I was recently single, like all in one day.
mhm.
Just went to bed the next day. I was single, living alone and working a new job. And I was
Wow.
like, this is fine.
Yeah, I've always said too, like I make home very easily. So like this expresses in travel, I will call an Airbnb home like on the first day.
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of adaptable to situations like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't stress me out. I can adapt to a new reality quickly.
Hmm.
And it feels like you're kind of saying the same thing with
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. You just kind of have to, it is what it is. I hate doing it, but once I'm like on my way or there, it is what it is. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay, so three lines tend to experiment and try things and like pioneer things so that it can like help other people and make other people's lives better. How have you used what you've learned as a three line to impact other people?
Well, when I started my virtual assistant business, it was very general, and then I kind of got niched into real estate itself. I saw a common theme with a lot of clients when it came to marketing and just social media and stuff like that. And then that's kind of how my second business came about, was that I wanted to find a way that I could help people and be more efficient doing it. So, yeah, that's basically how my second business was born, was from that exact sort of.
Was there one particular client where you were working on their social media and you realized like you had this like big breakthrough of this could be easier and then I could apply the solution to more people?
Yes and no. I feel like my big breakthrough came from working with a coach last year and doing some more inner work, because I was listening to a post of yours, or I think it was a reel or something, I can't remember, and you were talking about your like the cycles of how you
Mm-hmm.
know things. I resonated with that so much. We can go back to that. But the whole reason why was I thought when I was entering into my entrepreneurial world and realm of it all, that I was doing something for me because I didn't like working corporate, when I found out I was the problem. And when I worked on boundaries, when I started my virtual assistant business, I took on clients to do social media, even though I didn't want to, not that I didn't want to, but it wasn't necessarily something that like I thought I would do. And then I kept saying yes and yes and yes. And I do enjoy doing it. I just didn't enjoy doing it how I was doing it. And I kind of started to get overwhelmed and frustrated and was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then so I started scaling back and was like, unfortunately, I'm not offering that service anymore, but it's a huge need. And it's something that I know that I can fill, but just not in the way that I was doing it before.
Mhm.
And so that's how the key came about, was I was like, how can I do this in a way that I enjoy it, that people can benefit from it, and that I can serve more people at the same time with it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just kind of, I hyper fixated one day. It was like a 3 hour session on my Trello board, and I just hyper fixated and wrote it all out. And that's how it started.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
such a five line answer. I
Yeah.
love that. So, for anyone listening who's not familiar with that, the five line can have a lot of people come to them with a problem that they want solved. And the five line sometimes will solve that problem without checking in with themselves on, like, is this actually a problem I want to solve for anyone? And so, as you described it, it was like exactly that, right? Like, people were coming to you with this, you saw that it was a need, but then you realize, wait, I don't actually want to be doing this. An evolved level of the five line is that wisdom of, okay, I don't have to personally do this in the same way. I can adapt this and still be helpful, but like set my own boundaries around
For
it.
sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's like one element of the five line that I can hear that you're already doing super well. Another element is like there's this magnetism about the five line. Is that something that you've experienced, that kind of magnetism where you're drawing people in towards you as a five line?
I always joked so before I started my own thing, I supervised, I managed a lot in the hospitality world, and cash outs were therapy sessions. I didn't ask for them. I didn't poke or prod or anything, but it just felt like everybody just just dumps themselves onto me, or like expresses their problems. I love it. I love listening. I love being able to offer advice if I can, or just an ear to listen to them. But yeah, I definitely feel like in that sense that sometimes people just like come to me and I don't really understand why, or they just feel like they can unload their feelings onto me and I don't know why. Or I've actually had conversations with clients now that I remember, like a client called me one day and we were talking about something, and before we even got into it, she just like unloaded about her personal life, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I just did that." And I was like, "No, that's totally fine." She's like, "I don't know why I did that." And I was like, in my head, I was like, "Well, obviously you needed to talk and I'm the one you can talk to. Like, it's totally fine." But it was,
Right.
and it, I think the thing that's funny with that too is that prior to that, we didn't really have that relationship. It
Hmm.
was definitely more professional. It wasn't super personal in that sense. So for her to come to me with like a personal issue and just like unload before we even got into work stuff was kind of funny. So
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely feel that. Not in a bad way. I think I enjoy that aspect. I don't think I've ever had like a negative feeling about people coming to me, but yeah, I definitely feel that a lot. When it relates to business though, I do, when I started my business, it was very much just like on a whim. I wanted to see if what I wanted to bring to the table was even needed. And I sent out a few emails, got some responses, started my business, and then I slowly started marketing myself once I started to get more and more comfortable with it. And then after a few months of doing that, like I feel like after the first year, I stopped marketing myself. I haven't had to market myself, and I'm very proud to say that and very grateful for the clientele that I have and the people that they send to me as well. But I haven't had to market myself. My clients keep me busy, and then my clients actually send like their people to me. And I just feel like people just, I get random messages. A big thing in my life too is I always say I don't chase.
Mhm.
I don't, it doesn't feel good to chase. It's I mean, I am meant to respond, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, it's never felt good to chase. So the fact that people come to me and I can feel whether or not that feels good or not, if it feels more aligned or if like their needs are something that I can even fulfill kind of thing in that sense. But yeah, so I definitely feel like clients sort of gravitate towards me, and the clients that I have are all wonderful, genuine people. They have wonderful, genuine people. So it just kind of like attracts like in that sense. Yeah.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah.
You sounded super sure of yourself when you said that. I'm so curious. Have you had to do any mindset work around waiting for life to come to you that way and responding? Is this something that always felt natural to you, or is this something that maybe you learned through human design, or what's that like?
I feel like the instinct came naturally.
Mhm.
I feel like learning to listen to it was in a
Mm.
whole other battle.
Mhm.
Whether or not knowing more about human design and knowing that that's something that I need to do, I think maybe subconsciously sort of drives that a little bit. But I've always been pretty good at listening to myself and knowing what doesn't feel good. Definitely better at it as I've gotten older, as opposed to maybe in like my teenage years.
Right.
Maybe didn't always listen to myself then, but yeah, I'm big on, especially over the last several years, once I got into my 30s and stuff too, like I don't, life is too precious and there's too much going on to like to chase or to do something that doesn't feel good or doesn't feel innate to me, I guess. Yeah.
And that makes sense too with the self and not self theme of satisfaction versus frustration. You and I both have that not self theme of frustration. Do you have any stories about how that's come up for you?
Yeah, it's how I got into coaching last year. I realized my cycle of time was I would work a job, I would start a job. I've liked all the jobs I've worked. I've excelled, I feel like, at all of them that I've done. And I would start a job, I'd be really gung-ho, I do what I do, and then I realized being out of it and looking back in that I started saying yes, yes, yes. And I had one job where they would preface things with, we give it to Michelle because we know that it'll get done and she won't say no.
Mm.
Like, I thought that was like a strength, a superpower. Like it is in a sense, but it's also like if you are doing it with the wrong people, you very quickly get used, abused, walked over, and aren't really compensated or valued for what you're bringing to the table. So I started my virtual assistant business because I was like, oh, it's corporate, it's corporate. Until the 2 year mark came around and I was starting to feel like that again. And I got so down on myself because I was like, no, this was supposed to be the solution.
Mhm.
This job was supposed to be my means to my end. It wasn't supposed to make me feel this way. And I learned very quickly with doing some work with my coach that the boundaries that I had were not real. They were so fake. So I was getting frustrated. I was getting overwhelmed. I knew my frustration was misplaced. I knew I wasn't actually frustrated with my clients, but I was feeling that way. And so, yeah, that whole blow up of emotion, I guess, at that time was the catalyst that made me do some inner work, realize that when I'm feeling frustrated, I need to stop and I need to figure out why I'm frustrated, why I'm being overwhelmed, and like change paths a little bit so that I can continue doing what I enjoy doing without resenting everything else around me while I'm doing it.
That's definitely the dream for a
Yeah.
generator or manifesting generator. As you say that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that would feel really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like I have this weird tendency to be drawn to chaos.
Mhm,
And the chaos is like the straw that broke the camel's back in that sense. Like
mhm.
last summer, same thing. My work was a little bit slower and I felt calm for a second. So I started fostering again. And that got me frustrated, overwhelmed. I was like, no, 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 no. And I just have to remind myself that that's what happens when I take on too much or anything like that. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos and the three line just go hand in hand. Either that or you and I share something else in our
Yeah.
charts that makes that true.
Yeah, I don't know. Like right now, I run my two businesses. We're still very much working on both of them. I'm in the middle of a massive kitchen reno. Like we're still working on a basement reno. I don't know if that's 3-5 or if that's just ADHD, but yeah. Chaos is just, yeah, it's a theme of life around here, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any resources that you personally have used in your human design journey to learn more about?
Yeah, I started my human design journey, I don't even know, maybe like gosh, it has to be about 5-6 years ago, before my Saturn return. I know that for sure.
Mhm.
I was introduced to the world of human design through Vanessa Henry, actually, online, and
Me
I
too.
followed a lot through her. I've done some workshops with her as well. When Prairie Love was doing their workshop, she did a couple of those, so I ended up doing that with her, and I follow her still, and I've been a part of some of her courses and stuff that she had as well. So I've learned
Mhm.
a lot through there, some book recommendations and stuff like that too. And I just find that I always turn back to human design or reading more about it when I'm in a time in my life where I feel like something doesn't make sense or I don't really
Yeah.
understand what's going on. Like I did some reading a little while ago and it was talking about how like after your Saturn return and like how you feel and how you're trying to make your way in the world now that you've gone through that. And I just find that every time that I'm reading something, I'm like, yep, there it is. Like that
Mhm.
is why. And I immediately feel better about myself when I feel like I'm reading it somewhere and I'm like, oh, well, this is natural. This is normal. Like it's not weird.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. On that theme of guidance, we'll flow into our closing card ritual. So I'm holding the 3-5 cards created by Christina from Glow Glow Juice HD. If you're ready, Michelle, you and I will take a deep breath in together and then we'll let that go. Card that came up reads, I know who I am and what I am capable of, even when others may perceive something else. Am I taking on responsibility that is not mine to hold?
Can you read it one more time? Because I really enjoyed the first part, but I just want to hear it one more time.
Yeah. I know who I am and what I am capable of, even when others may perceive something else. Am I taking on responsibility that is not mine to hold?
I feel like if you would have read that card to me like a year ago, I would have had a totally different answer. The work that I've put in over the last year and just how I've grown throughout my businesses and through my entrepreneurial journey and stuff like that, that I am very sure of who I am. And I don't feel like I take responsibility on anymore like I used to.
Mhm.
I still feel like I slip back sometimes, and I feel like that's just natural depending on where you are
Sure.
in life and stuff like that. But no, I do feel like over the last year or so and learning through the businesses that I am very sure of who I am, where I'm going, maybe not so much where I'm going sometimes, but like we're on the right path and like I know that I'm tracking the right way. But yeah, no, I think that that resonates with me a lot actually. Yeah.
Where can people get in touch with you to find out about both of your businesses?
I definitely post way more on my key business. So that's the key dot you're missing. That's for Instagram. Also for website, it's just www.thekeyyourmissing.com. You can also chat with me on my virtual assistant business. I probably post there once a year on my story feed. I'm there every day, but I don't find that I'm posting that much, and that's at MicNic Remote. And yeah, that's where you can find me.